will work. All right. So now we just got to wait for hopefully this to work again until we lose the internet again. And when that happens, I'm going to break this laptop. No, I'm not going to break this laptop. I'm going to go break their router because we'll see, because now people are not expecting it anymore. So this is a bummer. I mean, this is just a beating, you know. All right. Well, hopefully this will work for a little bit and we'll get rolling here again momentarily. I don't know why you can't do an Instagram live off the laptop.
Because Instagram ain't made for a laptop.
Well, that's unfortunate.
It's made for your phone.
So we'll see as we get rolling here. Did you want any beer or anything? No? I mean, I guess I'll try that red wine freaky deaky and see what's up. But yeah, man, you talk about having some problems with this internet connection today. What a great time we're having.
Hey, we got 3 people.
Yeah, hello, everyone. Welcome in. Hopefully the internet connection will last this time. Unfortunately, we're having obviously some connectivity issues, but you know, we're hanging out. We're still here at Oak Highlands. Hopefully we'll be here for the next hour or so. We'll see. I mean, if we're going to continue to have these types of connectivity issues, then
I'm going to head to DeSoto and watch my dude play.
It is what it is, man, you know, at this point, unfortunately. So we shall see how this plays out here over the next few minutes. Give it some time, try to repopulate the room, unfortunately, because we had several people that were in here. We had a good audience originally, and then all you dudes bounced, which I don't blame you. I would have bounced too. I'm like, I don't know why I'd be doing this, dog. But here we are. So what should we talk about now? What's on your mind?
Okay, we can talk about what I spent in between working and some business stuff. I went down a rabbit hole. Do you spend much time on TikTok, if any time?
Never in my life.
Okay, TikTok began. You know who told me to get on TikTok? Master Tafatson of the Bleacher Report, one of those young, funky guys who's into everything.
Yep.
And I did what I tend to do. He suggested it, and so I just went and did it. Didn't know anything what it was about. And they're really short videos, like 15, 30 seconds.
Yeah.
There's a lot of dance craze videos, you know, a lot of silliness. But somehow, one day, dude, I stumbled on to the iPhone hack guy.
On TikTok?
Yeah, there's a couple, and now, but see, here's what happened. There was one guy,
TikTok,
I think his name is Consanity, whatever that means. And then I stumbled onto another one, and dude, they have the greatest hacks on the iPhone. Now, I mean, maybe it's normal to everybody else, but I don't know. And it just goes to show you how much stuff you can do with this phone that, like, I would say people like me and Matt probably use, what do you think? 5 or 10% of what the phone can actually do?
Yeah, that's probably true.
And so when you see all this other stuff that the phone can do, man, it's
like
incredible.
What? Give me an example of what you're talking about.
You got your charger over there?
No, I don't have it.
You got a plug nearby?
Yeah, there's a power strip right over here that we can plug into. You gotta be plugged in for this to work?
For one of these to work, not all of them, just one of them.
Well, what is it? Like it turns into an X-ray machine or something? What are we talking about here?
Of course, where's my charger? Yeah, see, this is what happens. Oh, this is not the right charger.
Oh, well.
Oh, well.
Well, you're just going to have to explain it to us then.
Oh, yeah, my other charger's in the car. Hey, man, what happens is
nice.
When I did this hack, because it said you could do anything, but basically every time you charge your phone up, it goes, JJT Media Group is awesome.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, I've heard that many times.
And it's an affirmation for me.
So you programmed it to say that?
Yeah, but you can
program with an iPhone hack.
But you can program it to say anything. You could, like, I saw another one today that said you could program it to say your battery is down to 10%. Plug it in.
Really?
You know what I'm saying? You could almost treat it like Alexa.
So how do you,
Almost.
when you say hack, like I'm thinking you're breaking your phone, you're going in there and jacking with it.
What happened is, I think they call it iTunes hacks because it's just stuff that you would never just stumble across.
So it teaches you how to do it.
Yeah,
but it's already, the phone's already capable of doing it without like a program or something?
No, it's capable. This is why I went down a rabbit hole, because some of them I like. And it said, it showed you how to go on. And I'm going to see if you guys can see this. It's you talk while you record. It actually shows the words on the video, like right there. You can see it.
Huh.
You see? I mean,
so it's like some sort of a transcriptor or whatever.
Right.
Huh.
So that was one.
Interesting.
And then I turned myself into a cartoon, like an action hero. And then I did one as an action hero.
That's great. Okay. All right. So if that's your thing and you're into that, then it works well for you.
But so that's fun stuff. But it's also got some other stuff that's just interesting to me. And then sometimes I feel dumb that you're only using 5 or 10% of its true capacity. You know, like now see, Matt blew his mind the other day, and I found this out on a hack. Matt said, I got to turn this in. I got to do this. I said, why don't you just scan it, dog? He goes, what are you talking about? I don't have a scanner. I go, your phone's a scanner. All you got to do is go to notes mode, hit the camera on notes mode, and turns it to a scanner. He's like, oh, my God, it works. It's great. So it's all those types of things, man, on the iPhone. And that's just, just the smallest, teeniest, tiniest portion of it. But in between working today and doing some stuff in adulting, I spent about an hour and a half down that rabbit hole.
On TikTok.
I can't get that time back either.
Yeah, I don't know. I looked at TikTok once and I was like, yeah, this just isn't for me. Like I didn't get it. I'm not social media savvy.
Okay,
so
check this out. I'm telling you, man.
I do Twitter and that's about it.
See, this is the beauty of social media, I think. And I'm gonna tell Matt to check it out. And then I'm going to force him to come back and give us a report.
Yeah.
Even if he says, okay, I checked it out and it's as dumb as I thought it was. Okay, which is fine because that means you checked it out. But social media to me is anything you want it to be. And so I don't know how these people keep coming up on my feed, but there was a bunch of all of a sudden, and maybe I looked up something for the Lovely Rain. There was a bunch of real estate people that popped up and they were talking about, here's how you do this. And I told her, I said, you need to get on TikTok, not to copy it and do videos like that, but to get the information that those people are passing out, package it in your own way and give it to your clients. For example, I say real estate agents are like preachers, meaning they've all got a niche. Some people want first-time homeowners. Some people, I only want to deal with people who got $1 million houses. It's whatever your niche group that you follow. That makes sense. Into.
Okay, yeah.
Well, she works with a lot of first-time home buyers. I said, there's a woman on here who in 15 seconds, because I'm going to ask Matt because he's a perfect candidate. No, I'm serious. Like, you and your lady friend decides you want to buy a house.
Oh, wow. That's what a commitment.
$200,000 house. Nice house.
All right.
How much money do you need?
You got to have, depending on the loan, you got to have at least 3%, I would think. If you get that first-time homeowner's loan or whatever.
Yeah, but how much money is it?
3% of 200,000?
6,000.
Okay, $6,000. There you go.
All right.
I don't know.
You need any more?
I'm not a calculator. Yes. Closing costs, you would probably have to have that, or you negotiate.
How much is that?
I have no idea. I don't know what closing costs would be.
This woman literally broke it down in like 15 seconds. And what she did what Matt said initially. She's like, you need whatever they call it, and it's 3%. And then you got to pay for an inspection. That's about $500. And then you got to pay earnest money. That's about 1% of the 3% that you put down. So that's about $1,000.
Why do people buy homes? This is
broke
insane.
It down. And
they just sign over a rent check and they can do all that.
Well, see,
and then I have no equity. But then what do I need equity for? Like, what do you use it for? I don't know.
To buy stuff later.
What stuff? That's like, what stuff would I want? I don't know.
Well, that's a different question. But at the end of 15 seconds, she said, if you want a $200,000 house, you need to have between, $7,000 and $10,000 saved.
Damn.
Which is fine because at least you know. Now, to answer Matt's question, why do you need a house? You don't need a house, but a house is an asset renting a property is not an asset. Meaning, when I met the lovely Lorraine, she had a house. It was a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house. We stayed there for about 6 months, and we bought our current house, and we rented out her house.
Yeah, and then you can make some extra
And then
income
we
from that.
sold
Yeah, that
her
makes
house
sense,
a couple years ago for 6 digits.
Damn.
That's why you
Fancy.
have a house.
Yeah, see, I screwed up. I went down the wrong path many years
You're
ago.
only 40, so you didn't screw up.
At this point, I'm just not getting back on the path.
And that's now I have a friend of mine who sold his house. He said, you know what? I'll pay the rent. I don't mind not having an asset because I like the freedom. I don't like that when something breaks, I like to say, hey, Mr. Landlord.
Yeah, there's a lot of truth to that, right?
And so it's all about what you want. There's no right or wrong. It's just about what you like and what you want.
Sure.
Some people like to live in high rises downtown for that. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes both ways. I mean, I like having a yard. That part's nice of it. You know, home ownership comes with its own costs and all these things that can happen, like you're talking about.
Yeah.
You know, hot water heater explodes, you got to replace it versus calling your landlord and like, hey, dude, you got a problem.
Right. It's so it's all about what you want to do, and that's why I say sometimes talking about the Cowboys, and then sometimes a conversation like this. There's no right or wrong. It's just what you like to do.
That makes sense.
You know.
Well, it looks like our connection's holding right now, and then I see like we hardly have any bars. So hopefully we've been having some internet connectivity issues, and I know some of you are jumping in and checking it out, wondering what the hell's going on because we keep starting over again. But we're doing the best that we can. We're at Oak Highlands Brewery, as you can see behind us, all the brewing equipment, the fermenters, the tanks, the mash tun, all those things that are behind us here at Oak Highlands. It is in the Lake Highlands area, just north of 635 off Miller Road. We're going to be here for about another hour or so. You can swing by. You can grab a beer with us or whatnot.
Hey, Brother James swung by.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty cool. He's sitting over there sampling some beers.
Right.
Some good stuff here.
He ain't offered your boys no beer, but hey, it's all good. It's all good.
Hopefully we'll be getting some here momentarily, but we will take some questions in the YouTube chat. If some of you have some questions, it could be about sports, about life, what have you, so you can load those up. And we've got a couple of other things that we're going to get into over the course of the next hour or so, but we always do a YouTube live question and answer session. So hopefully this connection will be solid for the next hour, because we were cruising for about half an hour or so. And then the next thing you know, we had a massive internet connection problem and dropped out. And then we jumped back on and then that freezes again. It's like, what can you do? You know,
not a lot.
I mean, we're not plugged directly into it. They got us back here with a bunch of equipment and stuff like that. So could be this, who knows? All right. So let's see here. We do have a couple of questions. Roger says, are y'all going to buy your kids the Xbox or PS5? My answer to these questions is always my ex-wife can choose to use the large sum of money I send her every month to buy him whatever she'd like, supposedly. So we'll go that route.
My answer is no. That's a no for now. I have learned over the course of these new machines, I like to wait. Like, how many glitches will the fresh out the box PS5s have? Whether it's a glitch with the system or glitches with the games, it's going to be a cluster. You're far better off doing one of two things. Either waiting a month while the PS4 dips tremendously in price and getting one of those and riding, if you don't have one, riding with the PS4 that's got 1,000 games out.
Nothing wrong with it. I've had one for a few years now.
Riding with the PS4 for a year or so. And then waiting for the PS5, I'd say probably August, September next year.
Yeah, I've always waited at least a year for it to go by. And then, but I use mine more for streaming and stuff like that now than I do for video games.
Really?
Yeah, because I don't really have a lot of time to sit down and play video games. I mean, I'll play Madden sometimes and I'll get on a kick where I play it a lot, or I try to play it, a few games here or there. But everything, I mean, we use my PS4 literally for, like, all of our apps are on it.
Really?
Netflix and Amazon and all that stuff.
So you go all through the PS4?
Hulu, yeah, everything's on the PS4. Our YouTube TV's on the PS4, so we stream everything through it. We watch. Used to be I wanted it because of the Blu-ray player. Well, now nobody does those anymore. If I want to watch something, I just go to Amazon Prime or whatever and stream it from that.
All right. I'm only looking like that because I do the same thing, except the TV does it All the apps are on the TV.
Yeah, and see, if you have a smart TV, you could do it that way. And then, but the thing of it is, I mean, you're basically buying a computer. I mean, these PlayStations are essentially a computer now, and they can do so much.
They're just like the phone.
Yes.
That we only use 5 or 10% of what they can
There's
really do.
so many different things that they can do with all the memory and your photos and your videos. I mean, you can use it you can get on the internet, obviously. You know, if you're into watching X videos on your 65-inch TV, you just stream it on your PS5 or whatever it is that you're into. I'm just saying, you have that option on the PlayStations. I have noticed this, and we're going to be looking and see. This is a rough time to be technically have lost our job. You know, we're building out the podcast and doing some other stuff, and we'll always appreciate our great sponsors who are helping to keep this thing going. But I have noticed that the TV we have is not going to last much longer. We're starting to get flickers where it'll flicker, and then the other day, I was trying to play some Madden and it started flickering like crazy. I was like, oh God, no. And then it just went dark for a second. I was
Really?
like, oh, that's it. And then it came back on. I was like, oh, thank God it's still alive.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, the good thing is TVs have never been cheaper.
Right. And Black Friday is 2 weeks from today.
I mean, it's just never been. I was shocked. I saw like a 65-inch for like $400 the other day.
Yeah. And I'm going to have to, I was talking to the lady. I was like, man, we're going to have to probably invest in a television. It makes sense. It's Black Friday. It's the cheapest deals of the year. You can get some really good televisions, and we actually are going to need one because it's been doing that for a while, but started to do it more. And it's getting to a point where I'm like, man, I don't know how much longer this thing's going to last. And then you got a problem. And especially, I was like, the good news is it's happening this time of the year where there are going to be some great deals versus, some other month where you're like, great, the TV's out. And now we could have gotten one at Black Friday for half the cost of going to get one right now. So we'll see how it goes. But we're going to have to upgrade that at some point, I think. But this is a time of year to do that. Because you do get those great deals.
There's no IPA
for one.
There's no PS5 for me. And I've been you guys should be pleased with me. Thank you, sir. I've been so busy trying to, number one, get the JJT Media Group up and running. Number two, get the Jam Session Podcast up and running, that I purposefully didn't go get the latest FIFA game because I was like, I don't want to get cracked out on it. I don't want to get to the point where I'm like, hey, I need to play. I need to burn an hour here or an hour and a half there. And so I just didn't go get it. That's
the way it goes.
That's what I'm saying.
That's how it is.
I don't trust myself and I don't have no discipline. So I just go without it.
Oh, we got some really good questions here. So Dylan has asked us a couple of times. He says, what is a greater innovation, the JJT Media Group or the Wings? The Wings are really good, man. They're really good. I highly enjoy them. Uh-oh, the zoo's open. We're getting stared at. What's in here? I don't get it. Those guys are talking in the microphone.
The JJT Media Group is great, man. And I'll take a moment to tell you all about it. Number one, you can go to jjtmediagroup.com and check it out. But in a nutshell, it's all about telling people stories. Whether it's a love story, how you and your lady friend or whomever met and fell in love.
Right.
What I'm working on now, what I'm pushing for Christmas, and I think you should do this for your parents.
Oh, I should?
Is
with all the money I don't have.
I've done a series on give your parents their flowers now. I did this for a client last week. I wrote a story about his mom from him and his brother's perspective about how much she means to him and why they wouldn't be the men they are today, very successful without her, and they grew up in the projects in South Dallas. So we write love stories, we write anybody's stories, we write business stories because, why, Matt? Everybody's got a story. Everybody's story matters. Everybody's story is important. And most people, check this out, Matt, never get a chance to tell their story because nobody cares.
That's very true, which is why I had that idea to revolutionize cemeteries where you can walk up and hit a button at a kiosk and your hologram pops up and tells your story about your life. Maybe that's where JJT Media Group goes in the future.
Down the road, because we also write those. We write celebrations of life. If you die, I always thought it was bad that there's 5 paragraphs about you. You found Christ at an early age. You went to this high school. You went to maybe this college. You married this woman. You left these kids. You worked this job. That's the end.
There it is. Peace. See ya.
Now, I'd say, hey, Matt was a thespian.
Thespians do it on stage.
Talk like this.
Always. Jacques the actor has shown up.
He did impressions. He was very confrontational. He had a great time in life. He loved craft beer.
Why would you put that in my obituary?
Because
He was very confrontational.
Yes. That's all part of who Matt is.
I don't know that it's confrontational as much as like I'm a vigilante for the people who are afraid to speak.
Okay.
I don't know if that's confrontation.
See, listen to me. When I write these stories, they're your stories. So his lady friend could say, Jacques, he was a vigilante for those who couldn't speak.
See, there you go.
That's what his son Maddox would say. But anyway, that's what the JJT Media Group's all about.
The people who are afraid to say, hey, guy, you shouldn't cut in line. I speak for you. Or, hey, guess what? The rules say table of 6. There's 8 people there. Somebody has to stand up for the common man.
Okay, we got to ask this question. Matt threw it out there. We got to ask this question.
What?
We got to ask it.
What is it? God.
When's the last time you told somebody in the express lane, it says 12 items, you've got 20? Or
probably the last time I was at the store. I mean, if I'm in the express lane and the person in front of me has 17 items and it says 10, usually what I'll do is go, not quite 10 items, huh? And they just look at me and I just point to the sign. And then the lady goes, well, it's kind of a suggestion. I was like, well, what's the max number? Because I'll just start coming to this lane every time. Since 10, and apparently the sign says 10 items or less. Apparently that's not the max. So what's the max number?
Now, here's always the question about that.
Is it 58?
This is always the question. If you have 10 cartons of Greek yogurt, is that 1 item or is that 10 items?
It's the carton is the item.
So that's 10. Because, some people say
it would be the item is the carton, right? Not the actual things inside of that. Because then it's like, okay, you have a box of Cheerios. Is it 1 box or is it 10,000 Cheerios inside the box? It's the box.
I mean, like, some people say I got 9 different items.
It's a great conversation.
And I got 10 cartons of yogurt. So I really have 10 items because I have 10 different items. And you're saying, no, you've got 19 containers. And so you violated the rules.
No, I mean, I would be in that situation, like I look at it. You could even argue with me and say, well, I have 3, like it's all the same cheese. It's just, and I'm like, okay, well, I'll consider that 1 item. But if you're walking up there with 20 something items and you obvious because you don't want to like, oh, I've got to get out of the store. I'm more important.
My time is more important than your time.
Which it isn't. Right. And then, the poor cashiers and whatnot, they never want to say anything. It's always tough. What are you going to do?
They can never say anything because the customer's always right.
Right. And even when they're pointing at the sign going, it says 10 items or less, you're either blind or you're dumb. You pick. So we'll move on because we got another one here. And I thought this was great because Jesus says, is there any coffee stouts that Jacques would recommend that I could buy at a store? I'm wanting to try out coffee stouts. And we, of course, would tell you if you're close and you can get there, Beer Geek Shop in downtown Rockwall is the place to go because Jason and Deidre, you could go to Beer Geek Shop and say, hey, can you give me the coffee stouts that Jacques likes? And Deidre would be like, yep, I got you.
Yes.
Now, if you can't get to Beer Geek Shop, and I understand it's not convenient for everybody depending on where you live, a lot of the stouts that you like are available at a lot of the bigger stores, such as like a Total Wine or a Specs or things of that nature.
Yeah. Now, I've got some for you, if you got some pen and paper out there. And then I'll tweet this out later or put it on Instagram again. I put it out, once a month, once every 6 weeks, whenever I think about it. But I'll do it again. Full Grown Hombre, which is a seasonal beer. So its season may be over or you may still be able to find it here or there. And I say that because I saw some pumpkin spice beers a couple weeks ago, and they're kind of October-ish. So if you get lucky, you may find it. But Full Grown Hombre is good. Bat County Cold Brew is good.
Bat Country, it's from Fourth Tap, which is a brewery out of Austin.
County. I bet if you ask somebody for a Bat County Cold Brew, they'll find it.
Well, maybe, but I would say the Fourth Tap Bat beer, and then that would help because it's by Fourth Tap.
All right, fancy pants.
I'm just saying, like people get confused and go, wait, what is
Frigid
it?
Underworld for Hop and Sting.
That's
or
good.
Scorpion and Frog, whatever you like to call it.
That's really good. That espresso one is really good too.
Yeah. And then Black is Beautiful from 903 is good. Now, that's just off the top. Now, you can also go to False Idol and pick up Return of the Stack, or they had a couple of coffee stouts out there. You could go to Manhattan Project and get Black Matters. God, that sounds like I really know what I'm talking about.
I know, it's great. Keep naming them, man. Keep coming. This is fantastic. Look at this guy. And this is incredible. The guy's just naming beers left and right. Like he's going through names of women.
And then there's the one that most people say, whatever you like is in the top 3. Maybe some people got it 1, some people got 3, some people got 2. It's always up there, and that would be Lakewood's The Temptress.
God, look at you. Look at you.
Dad tears over there, man.
Want to rub your little head.
Tears.
I mean, not, that your head, that head, the bit, that one. So yes, not the little head.
I wasn't thinking that.
Okay. Well,
So anyway,
I just want to
those are
make
some
sure
coffee
people know.
stouts that I like, my friend.
All right. So that was pretty cool. Awesome. Thank you for that question. That's a good one. Look at that. Roger says he air fried 3 pounds of wings last night. They were delicious.
Yeah.
They are good.
Or flats, bro.
Our sponsors are great, man. All of our sponsors, we tell you guys about them for a reason, because we support them, they support us, and you guys should support them as well. And we always appreciate that. So we'll get into some more of your questions. You can keep them coming. If you want to ask us some things in the chat, feel free to do that. But one of the things we wanted to get into today was the Dallas Cowboys. And it's interesting because at 2-7, we played this. If you caught the podcast episodes this week, we actually went through a little Stephen Jones audio. And if you listen, he did his conference call, and I listened to all 29 minutes of it. And there were times where whether like Todd Archer kept trying to get him into addressing the draft question.
He refused to do it.
Well, and right now we're just focused on the Vikings. Come on. And Dak's our quarterback and all that. But reality of it is, and he did admit that, Will McClay and his group of the scouting team is scouting like they would at any other point in any other season, that you're doing your due diligence. But I think the reality of it is, and you can kind of tell, they understand they're going to wind up with the highest pick they've had since they got Zeke in 2016. Is it going to be higher than that? Would it be 2 or 3? Maybe. I don't think it's going to be much lower at the rate they're going. I mean, even if they win a couple more games and finish at 4-12, you're probably looking at a top 5 pick. And they know that.
I would think so.
And so then the question's going to become, what do you do in the top 5? Because I don't think, and I will say the Jets had a lot more fight than I thought they did, but they're still continuing to lose. I don't think that they're going to catch the Jets. The Jets are going to get Trevor Lawrence.
Right.
Outside of that, I do think it's going to be an interesting question if it gets to a point, because the easy thing to say is everybody wants to say, they need defense, get the defensive guy. Problem of it is there's no Chase Young, Bosa brother coming out this year. There's no consensus, real belief on who the best available defensive player is that you would no-brainer pick at 2 or 3.
Right. That's true.
The only real no-brainer non-quarterback pick is the Sewell kid out of Oregon, who is extremely young.
Left tackle.
He's 20 years old and doesn't turn 21 until October of next year. Whew. Much like Tyron Smith when he came out of USC. So you could have a generational type left tackle that walks in. If Tyron decided to retire, if you felt like, could we play you at right? Could we play you at guard until Tyron has a couple of years and walks away? How would you do it? I think if they get the 2nd or 3rd pick and he's available, I think that's actually a really smart pick for the future for them.
Oh, you'll have some people take defense. They got to have defense. Nah, you do. Okay. But they need a lot of stuff.
Right.
And what you want to do is always take the best player. And you can use him. If he's a left tackle, you could damn sure use him at left guard right now. Put Connor Williams on the bench and let him play next to Tyron Smith, you hope, for a year or 2, and then kick him out. There's a reason why, listen to me now, there's a reason why Larry Allen played left guard, right tackle, left tackle before moving back to guard. He played everything but center. Because why? He was great. He was versatile. And wherever you needed somebody to plug in, you could play him. And don't forget, for a while, he was the nickel tackle. You hear that? The nickel tackle. 3rd down, long yardage. Larry Allen moves from guard to tackle. From tackle to guard. From guard to tackle.
Yeah.
And I haven't even had a beer. So, the point is, take the best player. If the best player is the tackle from Oregon, take him. Put him at guard for a year or 2 if you need to, and then let him go be your anchor out there for a decade like Tyron Smith.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be interesting as well because
Lyle Collins did the same thing.
Right. How is the Dak situation going to play out? And we've talked about this before. 37-7 against the cap if they tag him again next year. And if I'm Dak, I'm not taking a deal unless I'm winning that deal completely, because otherwise you're giving me $37.7 million guaranteed in one season. And then I can hit the open market unless you want to lock me up. We'll see that situation. The Cowboys did it to themselves, and I've mentioned this before. They've put themselves in a position to where it's going to be a shower scene and they're going to get held down, and there's not much they can do about it because of the fact that the cap is going to drop so low next year. Some people believe it may go down to 175. And I don't know how they carry that tag number at 175 and improve themselves. And it may be a situation where they just have to let Dak win the deal to help themselves in the immediate future because of the situation of the cap. But they did it to themselves.
They did it to themselves. So I don't have any sympathy for them. It just is what it is. You had a couple chances to just acquiesce and understand you weren't winning this deal, and they didn't do it. And so, hey, they made a choice, and now they're dealing with the consequences.
Yeah, and I think it'll be interesting as well because there's 4 quarterbacks. The kid from BYU, whose name I can never – Kyle whatever. I can't remember his name. The kid from BYU that is really starting to pick up a lot of steam. And then you've got Trey Lance from North Dakota State, Justin Fields from Ohio State. And it's one of those things where here's reality. Trevor Lawrence is considered a generational prospect pretty much across the board by guys that evaluate this type of talent. He is considered the best quarterback prospect to come out since Andrew Luck, who is considered the best since Peyton Manning. He is a no-brainer. There is a gap between him and the rest. The other 3, take your pick. Now, a lot of people think it'll be Fields. I think the dude from BYU is picking up a lot of steam. And then the Trey Lance kid out of North Dakota State, it's just going to be who wants what.
What flavor ice cream do you like?
And so the Cowboys may end up in a situation. Yeah, Kyle, no, Zach Wilson.
Yeah,
That's what I was thinking.
Trask is at Florida.
Yeah, sorry. Zach Wilson is who I'm thinking of. Thanks, Roger. I never can remember his name. I don't know why. I think it's because it's just so bland.
It's like me and your boy North Dakota State.
Like Zach Wilson. I mean, really? That's your name? Come on. Anyway, it's one of those situations where if the Cowboys wind up and they can't get the left tackle of the future and you're sitting at 3 or 4, one of those teams may want to come up and get Wilson or come up and get Justin Fields or Trey Lance and might be willing, and we talked about this before, there's going to be teams that are there from 8 to 13 that are going to be quarterback looking that might be willing to give you a slew of picks to come up and do that. Then you can wait it. And again, for those of you that want the defensive guy, if you want the defensive guy, that makes more sense to me that you would drop down and do it that way, because then you're talking about you can go out and get, the Surtain, the cornerback from Alabama's of the world, or your guy from Ohio State, Shaun Wade. Those guys that you could probably still get at 7, 8, 9, one of them, improve your defense. And you're also acquiring more picks to continue to improve your defense because you'd get another one from next year. You might get a second or a third thrown in there as well. And then you got more picks to where you're drafting, like we've seen the Dolphins kind of do this, where they've gotten so many picks in the last couple of years in the top 100 of the draft.
Right.
And they've turned that into obviously what is the core of a team, a young up and coming team that looks like they're going to find some success.
Now, that's what you're trying to do, man. It's that's the key. That the other thing is it'll depend on how you got the players tiered. Like in that, let's use the 2016 draft. There were like 5 elite players. As long as you got one of those 5, you straight. And that's the quarterbacks.
Right.
Not what they ended up now, but when they were drafted, there was 5 elite players. 2 quarterbacks, Bosa, Ramsey, Zeke. If you got one of them 5 cats, you was straight. So the question is, in this draft, when it's all said and done, how many of these guys will be on that tier? And as long as you get one of those, you straight.
Yeah, and so we'll see how it plays out. But I think one of the exciting things is there are a lot of options for the Cowboys, and I don't know that there's necessarily a wrong answer. Because
there can always be a wrong answer.
Well, and I mean, they could totally just screw this up and go for it. And I know like a lot of people are talking about the edge guy from Miami who's extremely raw and needs a lot of development. I don't, again, there's not a Chase Young Bosa coming out of the draft this year. And I get it because that would make sense. Obviously, I think if there was, then you would sit there and you would say, if this was last year, hands down, if you wind up with one of the top 2 or 3 picks, Chase Young all day long. I don't even care what the call is. Chase Young, Chase Young. That guy's not coming out. So then you got to decide, do you view one of the cornerbacks, and there's 3 or 4 of them that are in that conversation, do you view that we have to, one of them we think is so much better than the others that we got to take them at 2 or 3 versus trading down a few spots and getting one. And I think if they can't get Sewell, which I would think you probably got to have, and maybe not, depending on the quarterbacks, but that'll be interesting to see where they actually wind up. And if they wind up at 3 or 4 and Sewell is on the board, you may look at that as a steal that you got a guy like that, like the next Tyron Smith with the 3rd or 4th pick in the draft.
playing, and again, as you scream about defense, there's about 4 right. There used to be 6, but I don't think there's 6 anymore. It's your quarterback, your left tackle, your wide receiver, your pass rusher, your cornerback. 5 elite positions. As long as you get a cat in one of them elite positions, you straight.
Yeah, and so we'll see. It's early, but this is what the season's become, and we're going to talk about this a lot. We'll probably be firing up the draft machine at some point, and starting to try to go through this because there are some intriguing prospects. It's going to be interesting to see what the Cowboys do as the season progresses, and it becomes more obvious as each passing week we start looking at it, and we've talked about this many times. Where do you guys see wins coming from on the remaining schedule? At most, they won 2 out of their first 9. Do we really believe they're going to win 2 out of the next 7? And maybe they do. Maybe Dalton comes in, and with Zach Martin back, and if the line can just give him somewhat, instead of absolute poop play, maybe they give below average play, and Andy Dalton's a decent enough quarterback to where they get a game or 2. But I cannot see them being any better than 4-12. And if you're 4-12, that's a top 5 pick.
Typically it is. And then you look at the teams that they're competing with for that bad record. And most of those teams are still ascending because they're younger teams without expectations. And so, as they get their head beaten down and feel worse because they had expectation that season's gone to poop, I think it's hard for them to recover and build back up, the enthusiasm to play on a regular basis at the highest level.
But I love the draft. You know this. I love the draft so much because it is the ultimate congruence between college football, which I love, and the NFL, which I love. And when your team has a chance to get one of those names that all of us, and that's what I think is interesting about offensive linemen and a lot of the defensive positions in college football. We all know the quarterbacks. We all know the running backs. We all know the wide receivers, like fantasy football. Not everybody knows the offensive linemen, but Sewell, right? Right. Leatherwood, the kid from Alabama who will be the second left tackle taken in this draft. Those names because for the last couple of years, and I know Sewell's opted out this year, but those names because they're so good at that position, they get talked about. Whereas a lot of guys like, who the hell are some of these offense? Nobody knows guards unless you're like a Quentin Nelson, right. Or Zach Martin when he came out of Notre Dame, unless you're something like that. So when you have a chance to take somebody like that, I think it'll be really interesting. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out, but that's what we're hoping for. That's what we're looking at. Whether it's 3-13 or 4-12, there's no way they get to 5-11. There's no way.
3 more wins.
That's 3-4 to close. There's no way.
Don't see it, baby. Don't see it.
2-5 I can see. 1-6 makes a lot of sense. I've said this. They almost stumbled into a win against Pittsburgh. I do think at some point they're going to get somebody. Maybe it's the Niners. Maybe it's the Bengals. Maybe it's the Giants or the Washington football team. But they're going to win another game. I think they're going to win another game because they're, and we've talked about this, and I get it with the fans. Like, you want them to lose because you want a better pick, but the players aren't trying to lose. They're trying to win. They're trying, and we saw that against Pittsburgh. This is a team that is trying to win games. The players want to win games. And at some point, I think you're going to run into a team where at the end of the year, you just like, God, we can't lose out. Like, we got to win one. Let's just win one. And they rise up and get somebody.
All right, we'll see.
You don't think so?
We'll see. But, they end up with like the Giants.
Right.
And you say, well, the Giants suck. They can win the Giants. Well, yeah, but the Giants are a team that feels probably at the end of the year feels good about themselves and their future. Yeah. And again, we talked about this briefly, but think about whatever you've read about Joe Judge, their coach. You think he's going to be like, yeah, it's okay to lose? Really? He ain't going to be like that, man.
Yeah, that's true. So we'll see how it plays out. But the draft this year is going to be exciting. It was exciting a few years ago when it came down to, you want Zeke, do you want Jalen, but you knew you were going to get a really prominent name.
Yeah.
And both those guys obviously have come in and made an impact. And, hindsight way down the road, you may look and say, man, we should have taken Jalen Ramsey. Who knows? I don't think I'm ready to give up on Zeke yet, like a lot of people seem to be.
Right.
I'm going to give the guy more than 9 bad games before I'm out on Zeke Elliott, but I understand the frustration because of the pay. I get it. I can understand that. Now, a programming note for those of you, whether you're watching this live on YouTube or you catch it later on, the Dallas Mavericks free agency, the draft, all that is about to be underway here in the next couple of weeks. And ESPN NBA insider Tim McMahon is going to join us on the podcast episode that'll be coming up on Wednesday on JaM Session. So make sure that you check that out, because Tim's going to talk at length with us about prospects, who to look for, what the Mavs need, realistically, what they can do in the draft with their 2 picks. Do they make a move? Is there something in free agency? We'll see all this coming out to play. And I mean, who better's brain to pick than Tim McMahon?
I mean, there's a lot of people, but since we don't have access to him, we'll take his.
And then, of course, if you missed it earlier, we will be filling in on the ticket on Monday from noon to 3. We will be in for Jake and Dan, or Dan and Jake, however you prefer to do that. So make sure you find us on the ticket. We'll be on Sunday from noon to 3, and then again on Monday afternoon from noon to 3, leading into the hard line. And I got to figure this out. I'm like, do we get to do Why Today Doesn't Suck? I don't know. That whole cluster for like 20 minutes of whatever. I hope so.
I think so.
That was my favorite segment ever.
You know, I look at it like this, man. When people did JaM Session, we're on the radio. If it was Thursday, they were singing, right?
Yeah.
You know, so for the most part, they did our show because that's what the audience is used to. Now it may be our interpretation of their show, but I think we have to respect them and do their show.
So that'll be fun. So who do you want to be, Dan or Jake?
I'm gonna be JJT.
All right, fair enough.
That's how I roll, baby.
Yeah, so that'll be fun. So we're looking forward to that. And we do have a couple of dates that we'll be filling in on the ticket as well coming up. We're doing Black Friday for the hard line. And we've got several dates in December. Well,
7 of them.
Okay, I'm done.
Several dates.
Where we will be filling in. God.
Mostly for the hard line.
For the hard line, yeah. We'll be in for the hard line quite a bit in December, filling in for Corby and Bob and Danny. So that'll be a lot of fun, because doing 3 to 7 will be a blast, and we'll be having a lot of fun with you guys coming up in December, and we'll let you know all about that. But yeah, it's going to be fun. It's nice to be back. I mean, our weekend thing on the ticket is so sporadic because it really depends on what the Cowboys are doing. And obviously with the bye week, we figured we'd be on this Sunday, and then it just kind of goes from there. Sometimes we'll be in on Sunday. Sometimes we won't. It'll have to wait and see until after Cowboys season, where we'll probably be on regularly every Sunday. But I mean, who knows when that's going to happen? Maybe they'll make a miracle run and it'll end in February.
Okay.
You don't think so?
No.
Why not?
Because I deal in reality, brother.
Yeah, you know, I was hoping for a magical season. That obviously is not anything that we got, and it's unfortunate. But it's not like it matters, because I don't even know if they're going to allow media to go to Tampa. Be interested to see how that plays out. I don't know. That's going to be interesting, because you could be talking about a Super Bowl in Tampa that doesn't even have fans.
They may treat it like the NBA bubble. A select few media members, 10.
Could be.
National guys. And then they roll like that.
All right.
You know what's interesting? And we can talk about it more as it comes up.
Yes.
I was at the bank conducting some business.
That sounds fancy.
Yes, some JJT Media Group business.
Mm.
And somebody asked me what my plans were for Thanksgiving. And I said, it's funny you should mention that. She said, why? Are you going in town, out of town? I said, hey, check this out. I have not had a Thanksgiving dinner with my family since 1995 because I've been covering the Cowboys every year.
Yep.
And so typically, think about it, they play the 3:00 game. As people, if we're having it in Dallas, as people arrive at my house, what am I doing? I'm leaving. You know, at 12:30, 1 o'clock.
That's very true, yeah.
To get to the stadium on time. What time do I get back? And now some of y'all might not know this, but for a game that starts at 3:30, I probably don't get back to my house until 10:30 or 11, where everybody's either asleep or belching or finishing up their leftovers. You know?
Okay.
And so I told her, I said, you know, I'm still got to work the game, but I'll be able to do it from my office. So I'll actually be able to be around and see some family and hang out with family before the game.
Yeah, I'll be, at least for Thanksgiving Day, I think. We'll be doing the podcast. We'll have to figure out that, you know, but we'll have that ready for you for Black Friday as soon as the Cowboys games wraps up, and we'll figure that out. And you guys will be able to roll around, do your shopping on Black Friday, and listen to a fresh version of the podcast, which will be nice.
That's what we do, man.
It is what we do. So as we continue here, and again, if you guys have some questions for us, whatever you want to talk, we've got about 20 minutes or so left here at Highlands Brewery. We appreciate these guys having us out. Highlands, of course, I'm drinking, for those wondering, this is the Freaky Deaky. It's a Belgian triple that is aged in red wine barrels. This is that version, which is really good.
Is that new?
It is new.
I was going to say, that's not the traditional Freaky Deaky.
You're correct. Yeah, it's a little bit different than the normal one because of that, and you do get a little bit of the red wine. It's pretty good. I'm a big fan of this one. But I think it was Jeff that says Zeke was the second best running back drafted from the 2016 draft. Now, I'm assuming you're not talking about Jordan Howard or Kenyon Drake, but the Derrick Henry pick. And I think it's interesting because you know what? If you wanted to say right now, Derrick Henry is a better running back, okay, I'm not going to fight you on that. But I don't think that you can sit here and say that he's better over the course of their careers because when you compare the two, I just don't see that is the case. I mean, Zeke Elliott, even with this season, is still averaging over 92 yards a game. Derrick Henry in his career, even with the last season that he had, is only averaging 67 yards a game. And Zeke is averaging almost 3-4 times as many receptions as Derrick Henry.
And let me blow your mind on something. Like a lot of people would say maybe last year was disappointing for Zeke and your boy Derrick Henry was so much better. If you go back and look at all those analytics that I really don't pay attention to because I watch the game, but all those analytics that you football nerds love, and if you're a football nerd, you know it. You know who you are. Zeke trumped Derrick Henry in almost every one of those last year. Every one of those super duper high level calculus analytics that football nerds love. Zeke was a top 5 runner in all of them, almost all of them last year. I know this because I looked it up because I was having a nerd discussion one day. And so I looked it up on Football Outsiders.
Yeah, it's interesting because Derrick Henry has more rushing touchdowns in his career, but Zeke has Zeke has 1,200 more rushing yards. Zeke has 150-ish, right about, more receptions and 6 more receiving touchdowns. So, yeah, I think Derrick Henry is a really good running back. I think that they have finally figured out how to effectively use him.
Right.
And I'll tell you this, and I've been playing Madden recently, and I don't always play with the Cowboys. So I went to the Jets and I wanted to build them up. I took over the Jets, and about 2 seasons into my Jets franchise, Derrick Henry was a free agent running back. I was like, oh, hell yes. So I signed that dude, and I'll tell you, he is fun as hell to play with on Madden. He can't really spin, and his cuts aren't that great, but my God, that dude can run over people. And I'll tell you this, I've had him for 4 seasons. He has 4 seasons over 2,000 rushing yards, and he set a new NFL record with 38 rushing touchdowns once. Because goal line, you get down to inside the 5, you just give it to Derrick Henry, and he literally will bounce off people and run over guys, and you score at them almost every time. Now, granted, I'm not playing on all Madden, and I'm not playing on rookie. I don't play on rookie. You can't play on rookie because in rookie, the game takes too much away from you. The game will control too much from you.
Okay.
You have to play on the next level up at least, which is what I play on.
Okay.
I play on the second level.
It's all good, baby. It's all good.
Oh, this is an interesting question. So let's talk about this because Al goes, quick prediction for next year. How improved will the Cowboys be? Assuming Dak comes back and Dak is healthy, I don't know that they're 2-7 if Dak is the quarterback. Now, maybe they are. I don't think they get blown out the way that we saw them get blown out because I think with Dak as the quarterback, even with that shoddy offensive line, that he is still able to make some of those plays and make some of those throws that Dalton and Gilbert and DiNucci especially can't make. And I wouldn't be surprised. That's an interesting question because I don't know. Where would they have won? Are they 4-5? Are they 3-6? How many more wins is Dak good for if he had never gotten hurt? Because I still think they have a losing record. You know what? They might have beat
what was
Pittsburgh.
the question?
How improved will they be next year?
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay.
But then again, to me, because, Dak comes back and he's healthy. There's no reason to assume he's not. That was a freak injury.
That's Al, I love you. I love you, baby. I love you. I love you. I love you. But it's too hypothetical, bro. I mean, we don't even know who the hell's on the team.
No, hypotheticals.
We don't know who the defensive coordinator. See, I'm a journalist. I can't play that game.
All right, but we're gonna play it.
No, I can't.
Okay, but
we don't even know who's on the team, who they drafted in the first round. I mean, I'll play with you to the end of the year. I'll even play if Dak hadn't got hurt this year. What would they do?
Okay, we'll play that.
I can't play next year, man. I mean, come on, man. You know, when I'm walking around the street and people say in February, "Hey, how the Cowboys gonna do this year?" I say, "Hey, dog, check this out, man. Once we know who's on the team, I'd be happy to tell you." I mean, we don't even know who's on the team. And we know that NFL teams change over 25% on a normal year.
Right.
It's about 50% on a year like this where you suck.
That's true. That's true.
So I love you, Al. I think they'll compete for a playoff spot next year, maybe. But I thought that this year.
I mean, I think that they'll probably win the Super Bowl next year.
And see, Matt would think that. And Matt would believe that with his heart.
And why not? I could easily defend it and make it possible. They'll trade down in the draft. They get Patrick Surtain. He and Diggs are your cornerback shutting everybody down. They end up, Tyron Smith comes back with Lyle Collins, are perfectly healthy. They have one last year of all their receivers. So Zeke runs for 2,000 yards next year. They have 3,000-yard wide receivers, and they go 13-3, get a first-round bye, and win the Super Bowl.
This ain't your Madden season.
Why is that? What's weird about that?
Hey, man, live the dream, baby.
No, see, he goes, tough question. Cap is a mess. It may be. It depends on what the level is. Other than that, it's really not that bad.
Well, you know, they've been putting a lot of money into
the Saints cap is a mess.
Yeah, but
that cap is a mess.
Cowboys have been pushing a lot of money forward, you know, redoing deals now for next year. So they've anticipated a lot of this. And, you know, again, the cap is fluid. You can do a lot of things to manipulate it. I wouldn't get so caught up on the cap just yet because they're really good at manipulating it.
Yeah, like the cap to me with the Cowboys, they're not in a bad situation. Go look at the Saints cap, and they're effed.
Like, I wouldn't say they're in a great situation, but I wouldn't say they're in a bad situation.
No, but again, like you always talk about, and we've tried to tell people this, yes, there's a cap, but you can do so much to restructure unless you're the Saints, where you are so far above what the projected cap is for next year.
Right.
They've got some serious, like they're actually going to have to cut people.
Right.
And just eat some money because you've got to get down to a certain point. But the Cowboys should be able to finagle. If it stays fluid, then the Cowboys will be fine. Yeah. Obviously, if it drops down to 175, every team, not every team, but a lot of teams are going to struggle with that. You know, that's part of the Saints problem because everybody, and we talk about this many, many times, everybody makes contracts and projects contracts based on the idea the cap goes up $9-10 million a year. So you backload a lot of things. You see a lot of those things where you drop off if you need to. You can cut guys if you need to. You can eat if you need to, and we'll see how it goes. But we'll see. It's going to be an interesting offseason for a lot of teams. And I'll be interested as well because some teams, there's probably about 10 teams that are going to have to make some drastic cuts. And there could be some guys that you wouldn't think would be free that are going to be free, that are going to be having a lot of like dead money coming in. And so we'll see exactly how that works.
But then have you got money to sign them?
What are you trying to get me to do? You want my cup?
How you going to get you to sign them if you ain't got no money?
That's true too. But some team out there is going to get some deals on guys.
Right.
Because somebody's going to get cut as a cap clearing thing, and it's going to end up being and working like really well for some people. So we'll see. So let's see. Fellas, what are your thoughts on Dak returning next year healthy? Can he says, can he return 100%? I think so. I mean, it's a surgically repaired ankle type injury. That was a freak injury. That wasn't like something that you would anticipate he has a problem with again. He had demonstrated his entire career. He doesn't have nagging injuries. He wasn't a guy that had injury problems. That was just one of those things that happens in football that we have seen, especially with the technology and the rehabability that we have in today's world. Yeah. I would be shocked if Dak doesn't come back as good as he was.
I think I read something that said with technology and stuff, it's like a 4, and there was no infection in the fracture and stuff. It's like a 4-month injury.
Yeah, and that's, I think, probably the key. And you have to realize with Alex Smith, I mean, he had a similar type injury. It was worse, and he got the infection.
The infection is what wrecked him.
That's why Alex Smith had such bad problems. If he hadn't gotten an infection, then he probably would have been back. And hell, he's back now playing football.
Right.
And that's a dude who they thought they were going to amputate his leg.
Yeah.
Like World War II or some crap.
Civil War.
Civil War amputated. Man, that would just be the worst. You're playing football and you look down and you have that bad injury. What are you going to do? All right, so we continue. What's your favorite foreign beer? Minus Sapporo. All right, fair enough. My favorite foreign beer is probably the Samuel Smith Oatmeal Stout.
I don't have a favorite foreign beer.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know. We haven't had a lot of foreign beers. You've had some Radlers. You had that smoke beer from Germany. That was as a smoke beers go.
That was pretty good, but I haven't had enough to have a we'll use my favorite beer as an example. Like I've had enough coffee stouts that I can tell you the ones I like and the ones I don't like. I haven't had enough foreign beers to tell you the ones I like and ones I don't like.
Yeah, I need to get you some Sam Smith because their oatmeal stout is really, really good. And then Young's makes one. They're out of England as well. That's a double chocolate stout that is really good. Wells makes a banana bread stout that is really good.
Really?
Yeah, there's some, there's some of those German style beers where you'll get like some of the original Berliner Weisses are really good. German style like lagers and pilsners and stuff can be really good. There's one I'm trying to think. Wow, what
Berliner
is it?
Weisse. Didn't I get one of those from False Idol yesterday?
Yeah, you did. Ghost Eye. It's Ghost Eye, which we're going to do just a sip on the ticket when we're filling in. And so you'll hear some of those breakdowns of those beers. I was trying to think, what is that one? God, I can't think of the name of it now, but it slipped my mind. It's a German style. It's a German lager that is just, you can crush it. It's so good. I don't know. I've had so many beers. Sometimes I can't remember all of them. I always remember the really good ones and the really bad ones.
Right.
And I'm not going to throw out really bad ones, but I've had one. I remember I had one and I remember the name of it. I don't know who it was by. The taste of it was the way Band-Aids smell. I kid you not. And I had it and I was like, oh my God, this is horrible. And I don't think it was flawed, because we've talked about this in our brewery conversations. You can get a flawed beer. Like if you ever taste butter in your beer, that beer is screwed up, or green apple, that's a bad flaw, or like cream corn vegetables is a easy flaw to pick out. And I've had some beers where I've gone, I'm like, dude, this is straight diacetyl. Like this is drinking butter. And, that's a flaw, but this beer, I didn't pick up a flaw in it. It just like the hop profile or the malts or something was just weird and it was nasty.
I bet. Who wants a Band-Aid beer?
A Band-Aid beer.
Not me. Fell on the sidewalk.
Yeah, I don't know what happened with that one.
Skinny.
And then like your palate can change a lot too, and this is why I like Untapped a lot, because I'll go back and I'll check in beers and I'll look at a beer. I'm like, wow. Like, so I used to 4 years ago, I gave this a 5 and now I don't even know if I'd give it a 4. It's interesting because as you age and your palate changes and certain things that you're sensitive to, or maybe not so much before, and all that can change, or you have a better understanding of what you're looking for in a beer. And as time goes by, like there are beers that I gave a 5 like 7 years ago that I look at now, I'm like, really? God, what was wrong with me? I don't want to time travel and punch myself. This beer's not a 5. But at the time I thought it was, and I think you can appreciate the journey.
Well, sometimes what's a 5 is a 5 until you taste something better and you go, oh, so this is truly a 5. And what I tasted before is not a 5.
Wow, look at this. Steven says, go to Germany. He lived there for 2.5 years. They have beer mixed with grapefruit and Coke. They put cocaine in a beer? That is amazing. Or maybe he means Coca-Cola. I don't know. Although Coca-Cola used to have cocaine in it.
Yeah.
Isn't it weird that they decided that should be illegal? Unless you live in Oregon, I guess.
You get buck wild in Oregon these days.
Yeah, it's our craft beer conversations are always a lot of fun. We were out at False Idol, and I hope you guys are able to hear that one, because we're going to try some False Idol beers on Sunday when we're on the ticket. We're going to crack those open. Oh, I need to remember to grab a couple of the beers here from Highlands that we're going to sample on the air on Sunday as well. But, breweries, we're probably going to go to another one after we leave here. Me and the lady, anyway. You're probably going home. Is that a Robert Graham?
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
I'm going to watch DeSoto play Waco Midway.
Waco Midway. Yeah. Oh, I wanted to bring this up. A quick block story. Let me get this
Black
going.
story or block story?
Block story.
Oh, okay, I was like, you ain't got to tell black stories just because I'm here.
I don't know. What would a black story? I don't know if I have one. What would it be?
Oh, it'd be some kind of Mandingo story.
God.
I don't know.
Is he the goat of the black community, Mandingo? Or is he just normal?
He's just a regular guy in our neighborhood.
All the white guys that watch porn, they're like, man, Dingo, this is insane. And all the black dudes like, I mean,
really?
I don't know why you guys are so impressed with this dude.
I don't either. He doesn't even make the varsity.
I've got a baseball bat as well. There's no problem with this. Oh God, I hope my mom's not watching this
always
one.
Interesting.
Oh, dude, I've heard interviews like Howard Stern back in the day used to interview some porn stars, and he would interview some that had been with Mandingo, and some of those conversations are fascinating.
So how about asking the right questions and pulling out the right answers?
I'm just saying it is. So yeah. So what I'm drinking is the Freaky Deaky aged in red wine barrels. Is this? It's on tap here at Oak Highlands Brewery. It's actually pretty good. Yeah. So I was going to bring up the story. I think I sent it to the group. Yeah, here it is. So you saying Waco reminded me of this. So how about this? A teacher in Waco has been accused of shooting and killing her own son.
Yeah, I read that.
As they were driving to school in Waco. Her name is Sarah Hunt, and she's 39 years old. Her son, Garrett, was found with multiple gunshot wounds in a city called, and I've never heard of this city. It's right outside Waco called Riesel.
I've seen it.
A city of about 1,000 people. And they say, we don't know what happened. We don't know what led up to this. It's a big mystery. His body was found, shot multiple times, and she was arrested as she was walking back into the city. She was in her first year of teaching 5th grade social studies and science in that area. And apparently something happened where she just decided to gun down her own kid. How weird is, I mean, that's weird.
No,
Women murderers, you don't see a lot.
Yeah, that sounds like snapped. Like, you know, there'd been something going on, and
like he was stealing from her, or kept calling her bad names, or who knows.
And she snapped. You know, it's terrible. Terrible.
Yeah, I saw that story. I was like, I mean, that is the wildest thing to think that a mom just like, you know, kills her own kid, shoots him multiple times.
That's why you say, you know, that's based on all our time in law school, you know, clearly it felt like a heat of passion thing because of the multiple gunshots. Yeah. Like, it doesn't sound like a lot of premeditation there.
And then you got to think, well, if he had a gun too, no way that happens. You know, he'd have shot back and everybody would have been okay.
School. He shouldn't have a gun on his way to school.
No, I thought that's how it works though, right?
No.
What do I know? Yeah, I just thought that was such
Montana.
Such a random story, man, and such a tragic story. And then you think about that, and I've thought about this, like anytime I see somebody around my age that, I mean, she's going to go to prison for the rest of her life. And you're thinking, okay, you're 39, 40 years old. Let's say you get another 40 years. I mean, you're done. You're just in prison for the next 40 years of your life, and that's it.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it is.
I guess.
Although, you know, I've got some friends of mine who work closely in the prison system, and they go, it's just hard to live old in prison because you're not getting taken care of. And so, you know, 65 is like 75, 75 is like 85.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The older you get, the more vulnerable you become to whatever, you know.
They don't just leave you alone. I would think that they'd leave the old guys alone.
Sometimes if you know,
depends on what you are. Yeah, that makes sense.
What you are, what you've done, who you are. And, you know, women prisons can be every bit as vicious as men's prisons. So.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's very true.
So it's hard to live a long life in prison. Imagine that.
Yeah, Matt, I mean, it makes sense. It's one of those things. Yeah, you see that story.
Can we end on a high note?
Yeah, what is it? What's the high note? Tell us.
You get that? There's a high note.
All right, so Matt wants to know what's your username on Untapped. You'll just have to find me. I don't accept everybody. I already have like 50 friends on there, and it depends if you're going to check in a gazillion beers and I want to know you pretty well so I can trust your tastes. But if you're just checking in, like Jacques on Untapped, believe it or not, he has notes on his beers on Untapped. I saw the other day you checked in a coffee stout. I toasted you.
Did you?
You didn't see my toast? I clicked toast. No, but yeah, I mean, if you want to, if you can find me, I don't know what my username is. It's McMatt something. No, for real. Like, I don't know. I've been on there for like 7 or 8 years. I don't know off the top of my head what it is. I'd have to look.
Well, I didn't start. Matt gave me this app a long time ago. Told me to download a long time ago.
Well, I'm a big fan of it.
But I didn't want to be, and I gave Matt doesn't realize I did this, but I gave him a couple tests early on about this app, and it became very clear to me that you shouldn't be playing around on it.
Because you were checking in beers like a 1 or some crap or whatever.
No, I think I just talked about it, and he was like, it became clear that people take this seriously. So I was like, okay, until I.
Well, it's really funny because breweries, I mean, they look at this, right? Because the breweries are the one that enter all the information in for the beer so that you can check it in. So breweries will look at it, and you always, and I'll tell you this, and I know this for a fact, the guys that check in beers and give a description, you just make fun of them at the brewery. You're just like, I mean, this guy's a moron. Like, obviously, this beer is too hoppy. Oh, you think it's 96 IBUs, moron? Obviously, it's going to be hoppy or whatever it is. So you it's like Yelp reviews to some degree where it depends on, and then like you can go and you can look and say, okay, well, how many beers that you've had? And so,
and mine would be like 8. And
yeah,
you go,
so then you may
why
be
am I
like,
paying attention to this guy?
Then you may see somebody that's got a few thousand check-ins like me, and you can read some of his things. Like, okay, well, this dude knows what he's talking about. So obviously, like I've put on there before, if I pick up a flaw, I'll say I get diacetyl in this one. I'm just saying. And the lowest I'll rate a local beer is a 3, unless it's flawed. Like if I get a flaw in it, and then I know I had a brewery once that was like, why did you really get diacetyl? I was like, yeah, I mean, I get a little butter flavor on this. I'm surprised that it doesn't pick up to you guys. Like it comes through really easily for me. Then I think, and having been at a brewery before, like you'll go through that. I mean, that's weird. Like, and then you go back because most breweries for a certain length of time will keep that batch of beer canned somewhere so that you can go back and compare, or so that you see how it ages over the course of time, where you could go to a brewery, even with IPAs, and most of the time you want an IPA within 3 months, but you could go back to a brewery and they may have one in their cooler that was 6 months ago, and then they'll crack it open and taste it and be like, okay, what's the drop off on this? Do we need to pull it out of stores? Is it just too bad to have out there? I mean, there's all kinds of different quality controls that are in place there, but
who knew?
Yeah, I mean, Untapped is it's an app where you can check. I like it because I can check in beers and I can put notes on there. And me and the lady friend always like to get the badges, and I like to see what my friends are drinking and get their thoughts on what they're drinking and stuff. And maybe there's a beer out there. I'm like, oh, damn, like that looks really good. And so there's some people that I'm friends with on Tap that I really trust their beer opinion. And, they may have something I haven't had yet. And I'm like, damn, okay. Like you're giving this a 4 or 5. Like that, I've got to figure out how to get some of this.
I'm trying to earn Matt's trust.
I know. I mean, what are we going to do? It's one of those things, but it's about that time, I reckon.
Yeah.
So close enough. 2 minutes to go. Sorry for the technical difficulties earlier. It looks like that this stream ended up working pretty well for the last hour or so. We appreciate all you guys watching us tonight. Check out Oak Highlands Brewery and check us out. We'll be on the ticket Sunday from noon to 3. And then filling in again on Monday, noon to 3. And of course, we'll have brand new podcast episodes for all you guys. You can download those, available wherever you listen to podcasts, and find our new website. If you haven't seen it yet, I think at the end of next week, coming soon, we are going to have t-shirts available for purchase on Jam Session t-shirts on our website. So find that at jamsessionpodcast.com and be following along there. But thanks for everybody joining us out here tonight. Y'all have a good night, and we will talk to you soon here on Jam Session.